That was almost instantaneous silence. I'm not used to that. We're going to ease into this morning. I don't know where Joe is. He's getting something ready. Jean is getting settled in the back. People are coming in slowly. It's nice to be in fall, isn't it? Do you feel like reinvigorated when the cool weather kicks in? I do. And I also feel reinvigorated when the Giants squeak out a win, which they did last week, which was great fun. So I'm just warning you, I'm coming to the picnic, but I'm going to jet out early enough to go watch with my kids because that's a very special time for me that I get to spend with my sons. We love the Giants, and it's really about, I talk about it, but it's about a whole lot more than the football. It's really about our connection and our relationship, and I only get to do it so many times a year, so that's where I'm going to jet out to. But in the meantime, good morning. It is good to see you all here, and I invite us all to get grounded before we begin. So take a few deep breaths. And settle in here. Go ahead and feel the weight of your body in your chair. And I invite you, when you respond to the words I'm about to say them with intention, not on autopilot. I know we say them every morning, and it's very easy for these things to become automatic, but see if we can say them with intention and conviction. And I will do the same as I say, come as you are, aching, tired, joyful, or seeking. Here we are woven together in love. Set down what you carry and let this be a place of rest. Here we are held in hope and mercy. Be present to yourself, to each other, and to the divine life that flows through all things. Here, together, we find the common thread of divine life that connects us all. This divine life in which we live and move and have our being, our God, who is lover, beloved, and love overflowing. Amen.
Praised be you, my God, with all your creatures, especially brother sun, who is the day and through whom you give us light. And he is beautiful and radiant with great splendor, and bears a likeness of you, Most High One. Praised be you, my God, through sister moon and the stars. In heaven you formed them bright and precious and beautiful. Praise be you, my God, through brother wind, and through the air, cloudy and serene, and every kind of weather, through whom you give sustenance to your creatures. Praise be you, my God, through sister water, who is very useful and humble and precious and pure. Praise be you, my God, through brother fire, through whom you light the night, and he is beautiful and playful and strong. Praise be you, my God, through our sister, Mother Earth, who sustains and governs us, and who brings forth fruit with colored flowers and herbs. Praise be you, my God, through those who forgive for love of you, and bear weakness and tribulation. Blessed are those who endure in peace, for by you, Most High, they shall be crowned. Praise be you, my God, through our sister, bodily death, for whom no living one can escape. Blessed are those whom death finds in your most holy will, for the second death shall do them no harm. Praise and bless my God, and give thanks and serve with great humility.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Stevenson, for anyone who may not know me, and I would like to welcome you, whether you are a newcomer here for the first time, whether you're visiting us in a long time, or you've been coming for many, many years. We want to affirm, as we do each week, that if you are here today, that you belong. And if you are a newcomer or joining us for the first time, we encourage you to scan the QR code on the right side of the screen or visit the website commonthreadchurch.org/volunteer to learn more about us. You will get connected with someone in person, which we think is one of the greatest ways to really get to know who we are, what we're about, where we fall short, and where our strengths are. And if you are struggling today, we'd like to let you know that we do have a listening service, someone who will be down the hall to my left in our library after the service, and will be glad to talk through any situation with you. And I believe today Suzanne is going to be our listener, so she will be there after service if you need that. Or you can also scan the QR code to get connected with Morgan, who leads our community care team. And now let us reaffirm with as much conviction and intention as Sue mentioned earlier, that if you are here today, you belong.
You are here, you belong.
We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
And we are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
And now let us stand and greet another carrier of inner light and divine breath.
Can you grab that roll of tape? Good morning. I have a link to send to you. Yeah. The charismatic voice on YouTube. Which she analyzed.
This is my very pretty sitting down music. Everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a wonder.
Everything is a wonder.
Unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing,
Everything is a blessing.
bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, Everyone is sacred.
Everyone is sacred.
Everyone is
Filled with the divine. Everyone is alive with spirit. With spirit.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is filled with the divine.
Everything is alive with spirit. With spirit.
Everything is a wonder.
Everything is a wonder.
Unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit. With spirit. Everything is a blessing.
Everything is a blessing.
Bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit. With spirit. Everyone is sacred.
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 Well, there are many ways that you can get connected within our community beyond just our Sunday morning service here. We have a couple of exciting things going on this week, including our annual church picnic after service today. It is over at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and it will be from 12 to 2. So it'll give you just some time to go and get lunch if you forgot to get lunch, and we will look forward to seeing you over there today. We also wanted to highlight an upcoming event to kayak the Noose. It will be on Saturday, October 18th from 1 to 2. And you can talk to Preston if you have more questions about the kayak. Also want to highlight our Fiction and Fellowship book discussion, which will be on Tuesday, October 21st from 7 to 8:30. It is a hybrid event. Rhonda leads this, and she'll be happy to answer any other questions that you may have, but it is on Zoom and in room 205 down to my left. And if there's anything else that you would like to learn more about or may have missed, we have a couple of different ways you can get connected with us through our website, through our Church Center app, and our weekly email that goes out on Thursdays. And I will pass it to Shelby.
Hello, good morning. All right, here's my scattered thoughts for today. All right, so youth update. I just want to update you on the state of our group of kiddos and teens. The teenagers today are watching a movie, and they got to decide together what movie they wanted to watch. We didn't decide for them. And I think this just reflects what an insightful group of teens we have. They decided that they wanted to watch The Truman Show, specifically because they wanted to have deep questions and discussions afterwards. So instead of choosing something like K-pop Demon Hunters, like super popular, that's what they decided. So I think that that's just a cool reflection of our teenage group and something worth sharing. We're having lots of fun in our kiddo group. Our October virtue is initiative. Today is our communal part of working the circle, so they're doing a lot of team building games and that sort of thing today. For initiative, our biggest things are do things on your own, learning to do that and trust yourself, solve problems, and help others. So that's what initiative means for us. The past couple of times that I've made announcements, I've encouraged people to talk to me if you wanted to check out any of our resources, so like books, worksheets that we have, that sort of thing. Also, though, I thought I would just mention, sometimes I put like fidgets and coloring sheets out at the back, and that's great for some people. They are back there today if you want them. But if in general that's kind of like a thing for you, like that you are looking for more of a space or like art supplies or fidgety type things, like talk to me, because we also have those kind of like physical resources here also. More than we need. Like we have more than enough, and I'm happy to connect you with that stuff also. All right. Just a big thank you for everybody that's been volunteering in the classrooms and also donating snacks. So that's been a huge help. We've got several snack donations, which helps with several things, budget, and also just having them because they fly through snacks like nobody's business. So there's that. A few things that need to be done around our space. I am not going to make like an official, like this is the day to do these things, but just if you happen to have like you're free 1 or 2 days a week, this is something that you're really good at, etc. I do need to do some deep cleaning down there, and I'm here 1 to 2 times a week. So if you just have a random day available and you're like, I can give in that way, then just come talk to me or text me. If you email me, that's great, but I might not see it because I'm terrible at email. Just heads up. So just some general deep cleaning, and then also our outside space. We've tried to work on it when we can. We haven't been able to get out there, so all the work we've done is now like grass and weeds again already. So it's like, yay, more work to be done there. So we do eventually want to make that outdoor space like playable for us. So if you're into doing things outside, that's a great way to connect with me. If you're somebody who's like, I know how to make sure that ground is more level and I have a connection to rocks or mulch or something, great. I don't know how to do that. I'm just like picking weeds and putting rocks out to look pretty. So anyway, those are a couple things that we need doing down there. And then I also just wanted to encourage everybody, if you have questions about what we're doing down there, if you have thoughts, if you want to chat about things that are going on in your family and how we can support you as a church and like how I can support your child more here, or just you as a family, if you have a child in your life that doesn't come here that you're interested in potentially bringing, I am always more than open to chat about that kind of stuff. Schedules can be really wonky, but we can just find a time to get coffee. We can stay after church one day, whatever is best for you. Come talk to me. I am hiring one more teacher, a flex teacher. So if you know anybody that can work 1 to 2 Sundays a month, it's $50, flexible with any age group. We're doing that. At the picnic today, I'll bring bubbles and play stuff. So if you've got kiddos or if you would like to play with some stuff, I'll have that. 2 more things. October 26th, there is like the after church potluck that I always forget about. But don't forget about that one because I'm going to bring a bunch of mini pumpkins and some supplies if you would like to decorate a mini pumpkin with me. Stay and do that. It'll be fun. It'll be cute. So you don't have to bring anything for that. I'll have all the things. The other save the date thing, though, is I've been saying if you have ideas, if you're thinking about this, if you're curious, we are going to offer, we have tried to do like an open house type thing in, our program before. Typically, I don't know if communication hasn't been best or whatever. It seems like it's great for the people who show up, but usually only a couple of people stay after. So if you're remotely interested, please save that date. I would like for it to be like an open house to look around and learn what we're doing, but also sort of a round table, right? So if you have thoughts, if you want to get involved in any way, if you don't want to be involved, but you just want to say a thing that you're thinking, great, come that day. That's a good day to do it. So that is it. That is November 2nd. So that is all I have to say. stalling for time. More youth stuff. I don't know what else to say about kids, you guys. Except that we have a good time. And also now would be a good time if you wanted to grab some coloring stuff or fidgets. You can do that.
Thank you all for that, your grace during our moment of technical difficulties here. Shelby, I wanted to talk about Shelby actually quick before we moved into the contemplative practice, because we don't see what goes on downstairs. All we know is what Shelby tells us. And I don't see what goes on downstairs now because I can't get down there, obviously, during the service. But I would get down there sometimes last year, and I spend enough time with Shelby. And I just know she is organized and brilliant and runs one heck of a program down there. But the biggest thing she brings is her heart. She loves these children, and she loves the people she works with, and she loves all of us so well. And I just wonder, before we head into our contemplative practice, if we could all give some kind of, let's give her a hand, an expression of gratitude for all that she does here. She runs a full-time program with part-time hours, and we're going to see if we can move in new directions with that soon. Okay, thank you so much. All right, we're going to do this, okay? All right, so for our contemplative practice this morning, I mentioned last week how often we use words and how words can only get us just so far in life, and particularly in our spiritual lives. And so today, we are going to enter a contemplative practice that does have words, but it's going to be driven by the music that we've done the past few weeks. And so I'm going to say very few words other than to ask you to take a few deep breaths. Feel your feet on the ground and ground yourself. If you feel compelled to join in singing, please do. Remember that singing activates our vagus nerve, calms our nervous systems, gets us more connected to each other. And if singing isn't right for you, perhaps you want to hum because it does the same thing. Or perhaps you just want to sink into it this morning. But whatever you do, I invite you to be still and know the divine is in you.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still. Be still. Be still. Be still.
hear me? We good? Oh. Okay. So this fall, we've been taking a fresh look at what it means to work the circle by going deeper into each of the 4 quadrants of our circle. Not just naming them, but seeing them with new eyes, asking what new life might be waiting for us there. So we began a couple of weeks ago, if you remember, with the communal quadrant, which we named as the soil of our spiritual journeys, the ground where trust and authenticity take root. Last week we turned to learning, and we named it as unlearning, loosening our grip on what no longer serves and making space for something new to grow. And this week, we turn to what might be the deepest roots of the circle, the contemplative quadrant. And I don't mean it's the most important. Every quadrant has its role, and the tools and practices in each of them matter. But this one feels to me, honestly, less like a quadrant and more like the circle's quiet center of gravity, the deep well that nourishes everything else. Without it, our communal life can stay on the surface. Our learning can become just more information in an already noisy world, and our service work doesn't have the depth to make it sustainable. Contemplation is the inner work that makes the circle more than a diagram. It's what allows our life together to move past programs, plans, and busyness, and actually become transformation. Which is why when new folks find us these days, it's usually not because they're looking for a church to deconstruct with anymore. They're looking for a church to go deeper with. The most common Google search term I hear that people have used to find us these days is contemplative church. Not many churches show up in that search, especially not nearby. And so, of all the quadrants that shape us, this may be the one that marks us most distinctly. Now, when we talk about contemplation at Common Thread, we don't mean something lofty or esoteric. On our website, we describe it simply. We pause, we breathe, we listen. Contemplation is the practice of slowing down enough to notice, to become aware of the thoughts racing through our minds, the tension we carry in our bodies, the habits and emotions that often steer us without our even realizing it. And as we practice, not perfectly, but steadily, we begin to loosen our grip on the ego self, loosen our need for control, our need to defend and to perform. And in that loosening, a deeper self begins to emerge, a self that remembers we are already held, a self fully grounded in love. That's what we mean by contemplation, and that's why I talk about it as often as I do. And I know it is not uncommon for someone in our community to push back against my not infrequent calls for us all to become contemplatives. Seriously, Kemple, do you not live in the real world? When am I supposed to find the time between the kids, the commute, the job, the bills, to sit around and gaze at my navel? And believe me, I get it. It's the reality of the systems we live in. Most of us are doing our best, trying to grasp inner freedom while still bound up in outer structures of consumption and security, and doing that wears us thin. That's why contemplation can feel so impossible, not only because our culture never stops moving, but because our own inner lives have absorbed that same pace. So when we finally do sit down, of course it feels like our minds won't stop racing. Of course our bodies get restless. We get bored, frustrated, and unsure if we're doing it right. All those inner obstacles pile up until it seems easier not to bother at all. And when we live this way, constantly rushing, constantly distracted, constantly at war with our own racing minds, it's a kind of sleepwalking. We find ourselves driven by something less than our truest selves. We tend to shrink our awareness down to our personal calendars and crises, and we forget the larger life pulsing all around us. And I'm certainly not immune to this. I can sleepwalk through my own life the same way. I get up in the morning and I remember that I have several people in pain on my calendar. A meeting with some staff members, a working lunch with a fellow pastor, a budget to review, a meditation to record, a strategic plan to craft, a sermon to write, a retreat to work on, a chapel to set up, not to mention groceries to buy, a car to maintain, pets to feed, a house that needs cleaning, laundry that needs doing, a dishwasher that needs loading, food that needs cooking, giants' losses that need mourning, and family and friends that I want to love as well as I can. So it's easy for me to get out of bed and say, I better get to it. I don't have time to sit in silence this morning. But you know, when I say this to myself, what often happens is I go to the kitchen, I pour myself a cup of coffee, and I head out to the back deck where Maria invariably already is, where I'm greeted by a view like this almost every time. And as soon as I step out there, surrounded by my wife, my dog, and all these various forms of life in all their glory, these forms that somehow change every moment but are constant and steady, I find that something happens in me. My breathing slows down. My shoulders drop. I notice the way sunlight filters through the trees, or how the squirrels chase each other along the edge of the property, or how Buddy, without a care in the world, finds his cozy blanket and simply is. And in those moments, I realize that contemplation isn't something I fit into an already jammed schedule. It's not another box to check. And it isn't about escaping the world. It's about learning to be fully present within it. It's what simply arises when I place myself in the right context, such as when I surrender and let creation hold me. Because that's what creation does. The trees and the sky, the birds and the deer, the sun breaking through the branches, they have no agenda. They don't demand anything of me. They simply go on being what they are. And in their being, they invite me back into mine. And as I move through the day's schedule in everything I do that I was about to do from a surface level if I didn't go outside, I find I am able to draw from the deeper well. And if that's true in the everyday chaos of our lives, if something like opening our front door, taking a walk in the woods, or a simple morning on the back deck can shift us from pressure into presence, it becomes even truer in the hardest times of life. When we're stunned, when words fail, when grief or fear threaten to undo us, it's often our deepest knowing that leads us to nature, to creation, to the life all around us. And I've heard so many stories along these lines from many people over the years. And I think of a friend who, crushed by the election results a few years ago, found himself overwhelmed by the shouting on TV and the fury online, so he drove to the ocean. He sat by the waves, letting them roar louder than the noise in his head, and then he felt like he could breathe again. I think of our own Sadie, who was in high school on 9/11. She told me that while the world was unraveling and the adults around her were glued to the news, she felt a different pull. She gathered her classmates, even her headmaster, and led them into the woods, to stand among the trees, to root themselves in what was ancient and real, and everything around them started to settle and hold them. Her headmaster still speaks of it as one of the most impactful experiences of his life. And I think of my own story, the night my brother died. My first instinct was not to curl up in a ball on the couch, but to walk outside. I remember looking up at the silhouette of the mountains and the wide star-filled sky, and they didn't bring me comfort, not that night. But they held me steady. And they gave me somewhere to place my hope for comfort in the future, even as I was awash in unprecedented grief. When the world shakes us, when words fail, when we don't know what else to do, we turn to creation, instinctively. Because something deep inside us knows here is where we can remember what cannot be shaken. And it's fitting that we're talking about this today, because this weekend, the larger church and beyond celebrates the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. Francis, that strange little Italian friar of garden statue fame, who was so much more than a lawn ornament. He was a mystic who turned to creation, not just in moments of crisis, but as the very center of his life. Born into wealth, expected to inherit a life of comfort, Francis shocked everyone by renouncing his inheritance, stripping naked in the town square, and giving his fancy clothes back to his father. He gave it all away. And then he befriended outcasts. He touched lepers. He talked to animals. And people thought he had lost his mind. We probably would too. And yet, what looked like madness was actually a deeper sanity. Francis lived as if everything belonged. His life was rooted in kinship with all creation and deeply connected to the divine flow that he found there. That vision shines through the Canticle of the Creatures that Ashley read earlier, a song that Francis wrote at the end of his life, where Brother Sun and Sister Moon, Brother Fire and Sister Wind are all part of one family, nothing excluded, nothing outside the circle. Even at his death, he let creation teach him what it means to be fully alive. The whole Franciscan movement grew out of that same vision, and not unlike Common Thread, to be honest, the order has always been something of an oddball inside the Christian stream. Coloring outside the lines, pushing back against the church's obsession with power, wealth, and hierarchy. Somehow the Franciscans have gotten away with it for 800 years. Why? Because their way of living names something that we all know in our bones. That the good life is not about control or status or wealth, but about kinship, simplicity, and love, which we find woven through all of creation. And Francis's kinship with creation wasn't just a cute quirk. It was a contemplative practice. A way of perceiving God's incarnation everywhere. Francis saw the world itself as the very manifestation of divine life. And part of what made that possible was the freedom that he claimed. By stepping aside from the systems of wealth and status that had shaped his early life, Francis discovered a different kind of abundance. The abundance of belonging with creation itself. And so his life was less about rejecting the world than it was about rejoining the deeper world. The one alive with Brother Sun, Sister Moon, and the love that holds it all. One of the most well-known Franciscans of our own time, Richard Rohr, names this as the heart of what he calls Franciscan alternative orthodoxy. That the incarnation of the universal Christ is not just about the person of Jesus, but is manifested everywhere in everything. And that vision of freedom, that contemplative stance, is what makes sense of Rohr's definition of contemplation. A panoramic, receptive awareness whereby you take in all that the moment offers without judging, eliminating, or labeling anything. Which is to say, contemplation is how we learn to see as Francis saw. Not dividing things up, not deciding too quickly what belongs and what doesn't, but letting reality be what it is and discovering God shining through all of it. And that's not how most of us live. We do filter. We do evaluate. We do rush. We scan for what we like and we dismiss what we don't. The practice of contemplation pushes back against that. It is the practice of presence. It's learning to receive the moment exactly as it is. And while contemplation is something we can practice on our own, we've discovered it's even more powerful when we practice it together. As we've been unpacking, modern science calls it nervous system co-regulation. When we breathe together, when we sit together, when we slow down together, our bodies remember we're safe. Our silence deepens and its fruits expand because it's carried not just by me, but by us. And if contemplation deepens when we practice it together, then why stop with just the human community? Francis shows us another way. For him, it wasn't only people who were part of the circle. It was the birds and the wolves, the sun, the wind, water, fire, even Sister Death herself. All of them kin, all of them companions on the journey and companions in contemplation. Which means that when we sit beneath a tree, or walk by the ocean, or rest under the night sky, we're not working hard to make something happen. We are simply stepping into the flow of divine life that's already moving through creation. The trees, the waves, the stars, without any ego or false self to get in their way, they're already practicing pure presence. They're already abiding fully in God, as God is abiding in them. And just by being still among them, we can find ourselves drawn into that same current. This knowing isn't just limited to Franciscan Christianity, of course. It's exactly what another wisdom stream we've mentioned here calls the ray of creation. G.I. Gurdjieff, whose fourth way we've explored here before, used that phrase to describe how everything flows outward from the source, what he called God the Absolute, cascading down through galaxies, stars, planets, all the way to the smallest details of our lives. Every level still carrying the divine spark. Which means when we open ourselves to the natural world, a bird's song, the rhythm of the ocean, even the breath rising and falling in our own bodies, we're plugging directly into that ray, and we're remembering that all of life, all of it, is infused with divine presence. Buddhist teachers speak of the same reality when they teach interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh's word for the way everything depends on everything else. The tree is made of soil and rain and sunlight just as we are. Nothing exists on its own. Everything belongs. And of course, indigenous wisdom sings it too. For instance, in the Hawaiian phrase, aloha a'ina, love of the land, the mountains, the ocean, the trees, the creatures, all embraced as kin, all held in the same flow of life and love. Francis, Gurdjieff, Buddhist teachers, indigenous elders, they're all saying it in their own ways. Creation is the key to remembering who we are. And contemplation, especially in and with nature, wakes us up from our small lives. It unhooks us from our personal calendars and crises. It resizes us, and it restores perspective. It sets us again inside the vastness of creation, the ultimate context of our belonging, where we know in our bones that we are part of something much bigger than our small selves. Wisdom streams have named this for centuries, and our own lives confirm it every time we let creation hold us, steady us, and call us back to what is real. So here's the simple invitation for us this week, especially if we find contemplation challenging or feel we have no time for it. Get outside. That's it. Need a break from the chaos with your kids? Open your door and listen to the birds. Irritated by something at work, as I was yesterday? Take a walk in the woods, like I did yesterday, and let the trees put everything back in perspective. And if you think you don't have time for contemplation, just take those thoughts outside and see what happens. Step into creation with an open heart and just be. And today, we don't even have to wait until later in the week, because we'll head straight into nature at our picnic after this service. And I would invite you not to rush right to the food or the conversation. Arrive slowly. Notice the air, the trees in that beautiful space, the ground beneath your feet. Take off your shoes. Let creation greet you. Let it hold you. Know it in your bones. Practice the presence. And then carry that presence into the way you share your lunch, the way you listen, the way you laugh with one another, the way you let your love flow into the space around you, because that's where contemplation wants to lead us. It roots us, nourishes us, and inevitably overflows into how we treat each other, how we care for the earth, how we live in kinship, how we live in love. So when we become contemplatives, we come to know that the inhale of silence is inseparable from the exhale of love, which is why next week we'll end this series with the serving quadrant, where the circle itself comes full.
Feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong.
Amen. So before we go, as I mentioned before, today is the feast, or yesterday actually, is the feast of St. Francis. 800 years that order's been around. And this is a weekend when churches all over the world hold blessing of the animals ceremonies. I've seen a few signs on the road on my way here this morning, as a matter of fact. We've done that before here too. Last year we gathered with our dogs appropriately at the Bark Park in Cary. And some folks brought some dogs. I think Fred and Candy's dog tried to take my finger off, but anyhow. But this year, I've been wondering, who are we to bless the animals, right? Shouldn't they be the ones blessing us? So in that wild and holy spirit of St. Francis, I thought about bringing Buddy to church this morning to offer his blessing to us. But Maria gently and repeatedly reminded me that bringing our neurotic, bottomless pit of wanton need might not be the most contemplative move. So instead, he's blessing us virtually. I promise you he's offering you all his silent blessing of presence and love. He was pretty pissed off about wearing this, but he was oddly compliant and just waited for me to be done because he loves me. And he would love you too. And if he were here today, he would bless you with his presence as long as you gave him enough pets. Anyhow, friends on the live stream, we are so glad that you joined us this morning. We're about to do something here in the room called What Are You Thinking, Sensing, and Feeling? And we invite you to join the online version. If you look below the video, you will see in the comment section there is a link that says, What are you thinking? And it will take you to a Zoom call where you will get to meet some of the best people I know who have built a solid, robust, loving remote community. And they'd love to invite you into the conversation where they talk about the lesson, the service, what's going on in their lives, what's going on in the world, the kinds of things that people in spiritual community talk about. They'd love to have you join them. So if you want to push back against any resistance, if this is the first time you're checking us out, maybe give it a shot. Click, you'll need a code to get in, 1417 will get you connected to that call. And if you're watching, if you're not down for that this morning, or you're watching at another time, but you're still kind of curious about who this weird little garage band church is, you can click the link below that comment, and we will send you an email, just as Low Pressure is the one that we send to the folks who click on the newcomer one that Ashley mentioned at the beginning of the service. This one has a little more remote specificity, so you can find out more about us there if you like. And with that, friends in the room, can we dismiss our friends on the live stream by putting our hands on our hearts, remembering that the divine is in us. Be still and know that I am God. God is the deepest source of our lives and our love. And we are called to cultivate the fruit of the Spirit that comes from that love, patience, kindness, goodness. And when we cultivate those things, we are called to share them with the rest of the world. And so let's extend our other hand to our city and to our world and commit, as we do each week, to share what is in us with everyone we encounter. Those with whom we live, with whom we work, with whom we go to school, everyone we meet, taking seriously as we do our commitment to be healers and repairers of our world. Amen. Folks on the live stream, God bless you. You are dismissed. Folks in the room, I invite you, as always, to get grounded and in touch with what you are sensing and feeling before we talk about what we're thinking.